Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Energize Delaware's Facebook Live. My name is Angie Bivens, and I'm an energy advisor with a few of Energize Delaware's residential programs. I am so happy that you have tuned in on today. First and foremost, let me say thank you for viewing today. We do have a great topic that's going to be coming up shortly. But before I get into our topic for today, I love to tell you more about Energize Delaware. So, Energize Delaware is a nonprofit organization, and we have over 16 programs all around energy efficiency. So if you live in Delaware, or if you have a building in Delaware and you are interested in making it more energy efficient, then you definitely want to reach out to us. So you can contact us during normal business hours, toll free on our line, which is 877-524-1339. Or you're always welcome to check us out 24 hours a day right on our very own website at energizedelaware.org. Again, that's energizedelaware.org. So I'm not sure today if you're tuning from Facebook or from YouTube, but either way, hello. We got a great topic on today, and our topic is going to be about indoor air quality. But don't worry, I'm not the speaker. I actually brought a professional with me on today. So I want you to all give a warm, energized Delaware welcome to Cristina on today, all the way from the EPA, right up in Pennsylvania. And there she is. Good afternoon, Cristina.
Hi there. How's everyone doing? Hope you're doing well today. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about indoor air quality. My name is Cristina Schulingkam. I'm with the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and we're located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'll be talking today about indoor air quality.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to turn the floor right over to you, Cristina. So I'm going to go ahead and get your information up, and the floor is all yours.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Next slide, please. There we go. So we're going to talk about indoor air quality, and specifically indoor air quality in homes, in your home. Next. So as we talk about indoor air quality, the abbreviation for indoor air quality is IAQ. You'll see that throughout the presentation, so I want to make sure that you know what that stands for. And we're going to talk about the importance of indoor air quality, and what does it really mean? Indoor air quality is defined as the quality of air inside your home, in and around your home also. And especially indoor air quality relates to the comfort and well-being of the occupant in a home situation. Next. There we go. So what kinds of things affect indoor air quality? So think about all the places that you spend time. It could be at work, it could be at home. You could have children in daycare centers, in schools. There are lots of different places where we spend our time every day. And why is this important? It's important because we spend so much time in those places. Do you feel cold or hot when you're indoors? Is it humid? Are there odors that you smell? So that's really what we mean by indoor air quality. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, what affects indoor air quality. In any building, the things that affect indoor air quality are how the building is constructed, what materials were used to construct the building. Mechanical systems. Is this a large building with mechanical systems, or a home with furnace, air conditioning, hot water heater? Are they being used appropriately? Are they being maintained? we also bring things to the indoor environment. Are we using the space appropriately, or are we using the space for maybe a hobby, something that the space is not was not set up to encompass? Next slide. So other things that, I'm sorry, go back one slide, thank you. Other items that affect the indoor environment. People affect the indoor environment, pets, plants, all the personal care products that we use will affect the indoor environment. Dust and dirt that we bring in from the outside, our appliances and when they're operating, water sources. Think of all the various types of water sources that you have inside of your home. Could be furniture or flooring. A lot of times furniture and flooring has chemical compounds that will off-gas, and there'll be an odor in your home. Cleaning products, all the various types of cleaning products that we use. And also fuels, solvents and chemicals, and hobby materials that we may have inside of our homes. Next slide. Again, people, we have, we use a lot of personal care products, perfumes and toiletries. Our own body has an odor to it. There are skin fragments that come off of our body. We transmit diseases, viruses, bacteria. Children especially will, in daycares and schools, spread a lot of diseases around. Dander from pets. Sometimes they have ticks and fleas. Those things can affect the indoor environment. If you're thinking about, smoking and vaping, those things along with scented air fresheners also affect the indoor environment. So hopefully no one is smoking or smoking less or smoking outdoors, because that certainly will affect the indoor environment and how you feel indoors. And then contaminants from work. Do you work in a place where maybe you use solvents or paints or cleaners, and you bring your clothes and you bring your the solvents on your clothes, you bring them home. And so that could also affect the indoor environment. Next slide. Good. So let's take a look at some of the areas in your home and see if we can kind of identify some of what goes on in your home. So the furniture, again, could have volatile organic compounds that will off-gas into the space. And you may be very sensitive to those, and you may smell those, and it could affect the indoor environment. Again, smoking, preferably people are smoking less and less, or smoking outdoors if they do smoke. There's pet dander that some people are very sensitive to. Is there enough ventilation? Do you have enough air coming and going in the space? Do you have a chimney? Sometimes the chimneys will backdraft, meaning that the exhaust from the burning doesn't go to the outside. It comes right back into your home. And that could be a problem with carbon monoxide poisoning. And then there's also soft furnishings that you may have in your home that could be treated with chemicals to keep them from wrinkling, for instance. Sometimes curtains are treated so that they don't wrinkle. And those things can affect the indoor environment because they'll give off certain odors. So it's also always good to dust often. If you have a vacuum cleaner, it's best to use a HEPA vacuum cleaner. And also, if you have a mat outside your front door or your side door to clean off your shoes, that's also a good thing to do to improve the indoor air quality in your home. Next slide. So a bedroom. In bedrooms, we find a lot of soft furnishings, a lot of cushions and mattresses and pillows and things like that. They can hold on to a lot of, if you have a pet dander, skin flakes. There are also hard surfaces in the bedroom, wood, plastics, and they can off gas. They can have smells, especially if they're brand new. If they're older, you may not have smells volatilizing off of the hard surfaces. You should always try to dust and vacuum regularly. Wash your bedding frequently and use the allergen-proof mattress and pillow covers. They help, especially if you have asthma. Next slide. Water sources. So there are a variety of water sources inside of your home. And if you think about it room to room, you'll be able to come up with all the various water sources in your home. Think about your dishwasher, your clothes washer. If you have a dryer that has steam, that's another source of water. Toilets, bathtubs, showers, and sinks. If you have a dehumidifier to take moisture out of the air, or if you have a humidifier to add moisture to your air, that's another potential source of moisture. In your basement, you may have a sump pump. You may live in an area that has a high water table and poor drainage. If you have poor drainage, then water can obviously come into your home. Your roof, your gutters, and your downspouts, they are another source for water to come into your home. Your windows, doors, skylights, water can come in through those. Chimney, your roof exhaust, or your roof vents are also areas where water can come into the home from the outside. And why are all of these important? These are all important because it's all of these water sources that can contribute to poor indoor air quality, mainly because they have the tendency to allow mold to grow indoors. And mold seems to be a problematic issue, especially when there's a lot of water either in the air or leaks or condensation from pipes that stays indoors and allows mold to grow. Next slide. Okay, so let's take a look at the kitchen. So in the kitchen area, you'll find that you have cooking odors and fumes just from the everyday cooking. If you have gas, that is potentially a carbon monoxide problem. Do you have ventilation in that area? Do you have an exhaust for cooking fumes and for the moisture that comes off of cooking? And again, all those issues can cause mold. So that's why we're interested in taking a look at what affects the indoor environment in a kitchen. And trash will, if not removed often, can lead to pests coming indoors. And pests are another source of poor indoor air quality because they bring in diseases with them. They can leave their feces behind, and some people are very sensitive to all of those things. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about your appliances. And again, appliances are also can be a source of poor indoor air quality because appliances, either they use water or they burn fuel. And both of those can be issues inside of your home. For instance, if you have a dryer, you want to make sure that it exhausts directly to the outside so that any of the moisture that comes from the drying process doesn't stay in the home. It gets exhausted directly to the outdoors. Your washer should have, your clothes washer should have a spill pan, and it should also have metal hoses for connections to the water line. You want to clean and maintain those appliances because they could be a potential fire hazard if they're not maintained and kept clean. And also, these are, again, issues that can increase the risk of having mold growing inside of your home. Also, if you notice your refrigerator has coils in the back. They have to be vacuumed. There are drip pans underneath a refrigerator. They should be checked. And if you have an ice maker, you'll have a water hose, and that has to be, you have to keep an eye on that so that it doesn't leak behind the refrigerator and cause any kinds of issues. Next slide. In your bathroom, again, water issues here. You want to try to keep your bathrooms dry and clean. You want to make sure that they're well ventilated. Sometimes you'll have a window in a bathroom or an exhaust fan to get rid of that excess moisture that's created from taking showers and baths. You want to check for any kind of leaks or condensation that can form underneath your sink, for instance. Also, if you're away for a certain amount of time, you go on vacation for more than a week or so, let's say, you want to make sure that there's water going into your sink and your toilet and your tub, so that you're not getting sewer gas coming back up into the house. And really the best thing to have in a bathroom is to have a ventilation fan that can pull all the moisture out of that area. Next slide. So pets and plants are are two other items that can cause poor indoor air quality. Pets, saliva and dander carry proteins that some people are very sensitive to. They can leave droppings and feces. Mostly those come from rodents that are attracted to the food that you may have out for your pets. There's pollen, and pollen obviously can come in from the outdoors, but it can also attach to plants. Some people have certain allergies to insects, so that's another. Those are other items that can cause poor indoor air quality. If you use a fungicide or an insecticide for plants, that can also cause allergic symptoms or reactions. And plants, sometimes people overwater them, causing mold to grow in the soil, or they underwater them, allowing the soil and any microbiologicals that are in the soil to become airborne and cause symptoms, allergic symptoms. So cleanliness is really very essential when you talk about having plants and animals indoors. Okay, next slide. If you have a hobby area, arts and crafts are another big indoor air, can be a big indoor air problem. We know that a lot of the chemicals that are used, the markers, the glues, the paints, can emit VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and they affect how you feel indoors. If you do any kind of clay pottery, if you have a sink, a special sink for your clay pottery, the trap has to be cleaned regularly. You would want to have some extra ventilation for certain hobbies. You want to make sure that you keep the area nice and clean and reduce any kind of clutter, because clutter does have a tendency to become a good home for rodents, especially in the wintertime when they come indoors from the outside. And dispose of any of these things properly. Find out whether it's okay to put it in the trash can, or if you need special recycling or special disposition for these. Next slide. So some other areas in your home that you might take a look at: your attic space. Do you have fiberglass or asbestos in there? Is it very hot? Do you have an attic fan? Or do you have open soffits or gable ends to allow fresh air from the outside to come in? Is your insulation dry? Do you check for that a couple of times a year? The best thing to really have in an attic is an attic fan, because that will pull all of the heat and humidity out from inside the attic area, not allowing mold growth to begin And then one very important item, which we've learned over time, is that you don't want to exhaust your dryer, for instance. The exhaust for the dryer should not run into the attic. Dryers should be exhausted directly to the outside. There's just too much moisture and hot air. You don't want that to be exhausted into the attic space. Next slide. Okay, so basements. Basements, crawl spaces. Have you done a test for radon? Are you in an area that has high radon levels? That could be an important issue, as radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in the United States. Do you have moisture intrusion? Is there water or leaks getting into your basement from the foundation, from doors or windows? Are you storing chemicals, and are you storing paints, insecticides, pesticides? Do you have a hobby area in your basement? Do you have enough ventilation for that? Also, if you have your hot water heater, your furnace, if they use gas or oil, do you have additional ventilation for them? Do you have an exhaust for them? Otherwise, if you're not bringing in fresh outdoor air to support those appliances, what happens is the appliances will pull air from the basement floor and bring in radon and soil gases that will affect your indoor environment. And clutter, again, clutter is just an item that you should try to keep up with, because, again, it can bring in rodents during the wintertime. And rodents will, bring in other issues. Next slide. Okay, HVAC. So HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And the problem with HVAC is that, well, it's not a problem, but your HVAC, your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems in your home, they maintain your temperature and your humidity. They are usually connected to air ducts that travel through your home. So they're very important. You want to be sure to have them checked annually by a professional. Any of the appliances that have filters, they should be replaced as needed. Follow the manufacturer's guidelines for changing out the filters, cleaning the filters, buying new filters when necessary. There are air cleaners that people use in specific spaces in their home, and those are fine. Air cleaners will pull in dirt and debris and bacteria onto a filter, and those, again, also need to be changed. You want to get an air cleaner that is not an ion generator. And also, if you have a dehumidifier that you use throughout your home, in the basement, for instance, or even a humidifier during the colder months, you want to make sure that those are maintained, because then those can become the source of excess moisture and mold growth. Next. Garage spaces. If you have a garage and you park your car in a garage, never ever start a vehicle with the doors closed, or even start a vehicle inside the garage. If you have, for instance, other storage, such as maybe paints or flammables, you want to move those to maybe a shed that's not in contact with the house. Gases from these, if you have gases from stored fuel, if you have a grill or a generator, never use those inside the garage. VOCs are obviously the big issue in a garage, because there's a lot of off-gassing that occurs from paints and solvents and other flammables, pesticides, those kinds of things. So extra ventilation, if you have a window, if you can keep the window open once in a while, that would be great to clear out the space. And again, never start your vehicle indoors. Next slide. Trash and recycling. Basically, you want to make sure that you remove your food waste. You want to contain it. You want to remove it as often as you can, so that you're not attracting rodents to the area around your home. The trash or the recyclables are certainly a source that attracts pests closer to your home. And then, reduce, reuse, and recycle is really some of the best things that you can do. Next slide. Good. So we go to the outside. We've talked about the inside of the home and the kinds of things that we can find indoors. Let's talk about what happens on the outside. So the building envelope is the structure of your property, of your home. You may have stucco or brick, and you want to make sure that there aren't any cracks, that animals and moisture doesn't get in through and cause mold to grow inside of your home. Brick should be pointed every so often and sealed. Stucco needs attention also because it's another way that moisture gets in behind the dry walls. Stucco needs attention, maybe more often than brick, but it's certainly something you have to keep an eye on. Windows and doors, they need to be sealed and caulked. You should check them annually to make sure that you're not getting any pests or any moisture inside of the home. And the roof needs maintenance and should also be checked along with the gutters and the downspouts to make sure that the water that falls onto the roof is carried down through the gutters and the downspouts and away from the property, so it doesn't get into the basement and the foundation and cause water problems in your basement. Next slide. Some other outside considerations, again, your gutters and downspouts, they need to be connected to each other and to the house. You should check to make sure that they're not filled with debris so that they can drain water away from your home. Your landscaping should be graded away from the property, away from your foundation, so that anything that, comes down onto your roof and down through the gutters and downspouts can get away from the foundation. You check for bees' nests and birds' nests. Sometimes they can make their homes inside your gutters. And then also check your garage and basement entrances for areas where moisture and pests can get indoors. Next slide. Windows, doors, skylights, again, are another way that moisture gets into your home. You want to make sure that cracks are sealed. Check to make sure that there's flashing and that it is intact. Do you have double pane windows? Do you need windows to be replaced? Those are all things you should take a look at. Next slide. If you have a chimney, you want to make sure to check the inside and the outside of the chimney yearly for any areas where there could be moisture intrusion. You want to have it checked by a professional so that there is proper combustion, so that all the combustion byproducts when you're using the chimney do come out through the chimney and outdoors. You want to have it checked to make sure that animals haven't gotten into the chimney also. Next slide, please. Landscaping, again, you want to grade away from your home. You want to extend those downspouts at least 3 feet away from the home. So when there's drainage, it actually does move away from the property's foundation. And then other drainage around the house. And then bushes, trees, and mulch. Those kinds of things have a tendency to either keep moisture close to the building or bring in critters to nest and live near the property. And those items can cause problems with the outside envelope because a lot of times the pests do attempt to get inside the building. So they'll try to break in through either your stucco or your brick, and try to get indoors. And that will just allow more critters to get in and more moisture to get into the property also. Next slide. Other outside sources, nearby you can have farms, you can have industrial sites or commercial businesses that may have exhaust fans, and you may get odors from them. And also, if you live near a highway, for instance, you can get a lot of the fumes that come off of highways, idling buses, delivery trucks, cars in the wintertime, for instance, that idle. All of those kinds of gases and fumes can get into your home and cause poor indoor air quality. If you think of a home, it's much like a box. It's a box that sits on top of soil, and anything that gets inside will concentrate. And a lot of times the pollutants that are outdoors can concentrate inside the house up to 10 times as much as they would be outdoors. So the reason why we need a lot of ventilation and exhaust and circulation of air, and for us not to bring in additional pollutant sources into the home, because all of those things will affect the indoor air quality in your home. Think about all the wildfires that are going on right now. If you are near a wildfire, that kind of smoke and the particles can get into your home, and they can cause you to have allergic symptoms. If you have asthma or COPD or other respiratory issues, those will affect how you feel in your indoor environment. Next slide. So some of the basic protections for you would be to have direct exhaust where you need it, like with your dryer, your clothes dryer. In a bathroom, you want all that moisture and heat to be exhaust directly to the outside. So that's called direct exhaust. You want to have extra ventilation in your home, bring in outside air. Don't store items, solvents and pesticides and other things that you use that are not compatible. They can cause fires. Always follow your manufacturer's recommendations for maintenance of appliances and use of appliances. Use the proper safety precautions that they give on the labels. Make sure that you read those labels. Use less polluting and more environmentally friendly products when you can. Store and buy only what you need. And then again, just reduce, reuse, and recycle where you can. It's always a good thing to do. Next slide. Okay, and this is my information. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and you can go on our website. We have a variety of information for you to look at and use. So give us a call if you have any questions. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Awesome. All right, let me put your information up on the screen one more time, just while we prepare to close out. And then let me give some remarks. I enjoyed this. All right, give it just 1 second. I need more hands, I swear. All right, so I just wanted to make sure I put your information up on the screen one more time. Cristina, thank you so much for coming. I just want to point out a few things that I noticed that I thought were amazing. So I love reiterating things. So just a few points that I noticed that you said that were also energy efficient tips, but also go along with air quality. Definitely changing those HVAC filters. I love hearing that. Good to know it goes with air quality. Anybody that's watched any of these energy efficiency videos has probably heard me mention it's also energy efficient for your HVAC to change those filters. So thank you for reiterating that. And sealing up those air leaks, I thought was another great one. Takes care of making sure that we're keeping the indoor air good and any bad air out, but it also makes sure the home is energy efficient. So love it. And then you said a few things that really stood out to me that I was so glad to hear you say, because I felt like I learned them much later in life So I was hoping somebody else heard them too. And one of those where you actually started off talking about how furniture can affect the indoor air quality. I never knew until I worked at a furniture store how many chemicals can go into making a sofa. It's bananas. So thank you for that. That was another great tip. And then one other one that kicked me in the head, I didn't know, so I'm glad you said it, was about the indoor plants and them actually having pollen. I may be the only person, but it never dawned on me that plants outside of pollen, if you bring them inside, you're going to have some of that pollen too. So I thought those were super amazing and wonderful. Again, I thank you so much for the information that you provided. To anyone that would like to know more about their indoor air quality, Cristina has been nice enough to offer up her very own email address. So I feel like it's kind of like Ask the Expert, which is great. So definitely anyone that wants to reach out, you can reach Cristina that way. If you have any questions about Energize Delaware or any of our programs, always feel free to find us online or give us a call at 877-524-1339. And with that, as we prepare to close out, I just want to ask you, Cristina, one more time, did you have anything else that you wanted to say to the audience or any closing thoughts?
No, I think I covered a lot of good information. And again, if you have questions about anything that has to do with the indoor environment, with the outdoor environment, just go to our website. We have tons of information, and it's all good reading.
Agreed. Perfect way to end it. So for any of you that are looking for some more information next week, or I'm sorry, not next week, come back in 2 weeks, September 16th. We're going to have another presentation. And this time it will be about community solar. You don't want to miss this. Community solar here in Delaware. So I'm looking forward to that one too. So again, thank you to Cristina. Thank you to the EPA for allowing her to come. Thank you to every viewer, and come back and see us again on Thursday, September 16th for our next topic. So again, from everyone at Energize Delaware, thank you and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.